Michael Allen Rodriguez, and this is my first encounter with the supernatural. These types of things, you wouldn't think that something like anything like this would probably happen to you in your life. I just happen to be one of those people that, I don't know if I should say lucky enough to encounter or experience. I just happen to be one of those lucky few that did. But I remember I was around 9 or 8 years old, and I was living with my mom, and we were living on Horn Road in Bay City, Texas. That's where it was at, and this is what I remember. We were living in a red and white trailer on Horn Road, and I remember every day after school I would hang out with some friends, and we would play on my trampoline, watch movies, just do regular teenage kid shit, and we would just do regular things after school like any other kid. And I had these neighbors that were living in front of me, and their name were Mr. and Mrs. Pena. I always went to their house, and they treated me like their grandson, even though we weren't related at all. They treated me like family. Well, they were basically like my grandparents, even though my real grandma and grandpa were in the same town. These people were living right in front of me. I would always go to them for comfort. I remember one night my mom she handed me $1, and she wanted me to go across the washateria that was across the street. And I'm assuming that people who live in Bay City, they know what I'm talking about. They know exactly which washateria that I am talking about. And anyway, she told me to go run an errand for her. And it was right there. It was right across the street. Not even a block. And she said, son, can you go break this dollar bill for me and get it into 4 quarters? So I was like, okay, yes ma'am. And when I did that, this was at night, and she had forgotten around that time, and I did as well, that the washateria did close at a certain time. And so when I had gotten there, I saw that the schedule on the door, from the inside there was a sign hanging, and it said that it closed at a certain time, and I was already too late. I even tried pulling against the door, trying to pull it open, and yeah, it was closed. And I remember turning around to head back home, and as I was walking away from the door, I remember hearing this scratching noise. And this was much more loud than just a regular scratch that you would hear from a cat or a dog or mouse. This was much louder, and it caught my attention. So I went, and I turned around, and I don't know why I did. Me being a kid who wasn't into scary things at the time, I don't know why I did this, but I did it, and I followed that noise. I regret doing that. when I was walking toward where that noise was, it turned out to be on the side of the building of the washateria. When I had gotten to the corner, I had saw someone or something sitting down on the ground, and it looked like just a regular person. I thought it may have been someone homeless at first. I thought it was just someone relaxing, and in my mind as a kid I was just thinking this was an adult, maybe sitting there relaxing, smoking a cigarette, but it was nothing like that. As I looked at it, I was peeking around the corner. When I focused more on it, I realized that this thing wasn't human. What I saw was whatever this was sitting down on the ground, and it had its arms and hands relaxing on its knees as it was sitting down, and whatever this was, it had wings, and these wings were resting on the wall of the washateria, and it had a hat, and this was more like a farmer's hat, and then I saw one thing that for sure scared me was not only was it the wings, there were two more things about it that I saw. When I saw it, I got petrified. And when you're in that much fear, you react. And when I saw that, I took a deep breath in and I went, and when I did that, it hurt me. And I'll never forget this. When it heard me, it turned its head and looked right at me. And I saw its feet sticking out, but it wasn't feet, it was claws. And I'll never forget the red eyes. That was probably the scariest part. And when it saw me and I saw it, I quickly turned around and I ran as fast as I could. And by that time I already had tears running down my face. And I was screaming, yelling for my mom at the time, and when I did this, I could hear strong wind behind me. I could hear the wings flapping into the air behind me, as if it was flying away. Yeah. And I know that sounds crazy, that it sounds almost like a Jeepers Creepers reference, but that's what I saw, and I'll never forget that. And the next day, when I got home, I told my mom, and at the time, I don't know why, but parents don't listen. They always seem to blame it on the stuff that you see on TV. But in my case, it wasn't scary movies, and it wasn't my imagination. It was physically there. And I couldn't sleep all night. So I stayed up all night, and I took a nap during the day, and the next day, during the daytime, I went to my neighbors, the Peñas, And I told them about what I saw and what I experienced. And I didn't know if they were going to believe me. They did, and they had a reason too. They had told me that they also have been hearing about this creature. Other people apparently were in the trailer park were experiencing these sightings and encounters with whatever this was. And I'm glad that I wasn't the only one. And ever since that day, and so forth all the way up to now, and I'm 24 years old now, I have seen more proof of the supernatural than the average person. And ever since that day when I encountered whatever this was, it became an interest. I wanted to know what it was, and I wanted to know why I saw it. I wanted to know what it was, and why did I have to be there to see it? And ever since then, I have seen stuff my entire life. And this was the first sighting and the first encounter that I've ever had with the paranormal.